Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is March 26, 2023, and we are getting into volume 43 of me going through all your comments and questions and answering them, hopefully being helpful. So before we begin, as always, I'm going to mention I am not an immigration attorney. This is not a legal advice. All the information that I provide in my videos on this channel are directly from official government sources like USCIS and of course the Department of State with their visa bulletin. So let's begin with the very first comment from Ehsan Ese, and I'm very sorry if I am mispronouncing the names. Hello, I'm sponsored by my mother for F2B visa. My priority date is December 7, 2015. The date of completion of my documents is October 10, 2020. First question, how long will it take until my interview? Second question, can I apply for a tourist or visitor visa? Third question, does being or not being inside the United States have an effect on getting an interview and visa? Alright, straightforward questions. So let's begin with the first one. How long it will take for the interview? So you're already documentarily qualified, as I understand from your comment. So let's take a look at the visa bulletin. I'll use this as an opportunity to check it out. This is the most recent one for April 2023. So if we look at the F2B category, that's unmarried, sons and daughters 21 years and older of permanent residence. So if you look at the priority dates, which is the graph B, dates for filing, that's the priority dates when the case was received by USCIS. And if you look at the F2B, it's from January 2017, and you said that it has been since 2015. So you are definitely behind the schedule. I wonder, let's see, you did not specify in your comment, but I am gonna ask you if you could follow up. I have a question for you. If you could follow up and submit in a separate comment, which chargeability area are you from? Are you in all chargeability, or are you in one of these countries right here? So with that being said, you are 2 years with the backlog and with what has been going on in the past couple of years with all the pandemic and all the stuff. It caused quite a lot of delay. So since you have been already documentarily qualified, and since there is a big pretty significant difference between your priority date and documentarily, being documentarily qualified with NVC, I would say that NVC or USCIS, whichever, sometimes USCIS, they wait a little bit closer to the availability of the immigrant visa. Sometimes they don't, and they just approve your case and then transfer to the NVC, and then the NVC waits until the availability of the immigrant visa. So if they have already given you the access to the portal and you have been already documentarily qualified, and because there's 5 years difference between your priority date and documentarily qualified date, I would say that they see already that the immigrant visa is maybe already available or should be becoming available anytime soon. I'm more towards that it is already available. Why? Because you're already over with the priority date for all the chargeability areas, but again, it depends on your chargeability area. So with that being said, if it has been, now it's 2020, and if you look at the most recent backlog that came up on Visa Bulletin that we literally just found out about like 3 days ago, the April 2023 came out. So the current the visas that are available, that there is no cap on the F2A category, you would see that people are now waiting about 3 years after being documentarily qualified. So with that being said, you are waiting about 3 years for your interview. So your interview should be scheduled literally anytime now. When I say anytime now, I'm saying sometime within the 6 months. And I'm really sorry because, to some people, depending on the timeline, to some people it might seem like a long time. To some people it might seem like nothing at all. To me it seems nothing at all because I have my own petition also. I am petitioning for someone, and I have to be waiting another like 14 years. So 6 months to me is, it's not much time to wait. So it should be scheduled anytime now because you have been waiting for about the same time as people are in F2A category. So hopefully I was able to give you a kind of brief estimation. I'm sorry if I'm being a little bit of vague, but that's just because whenever it comes to Visa Bulletin, that's really all you can be. You can vaguely, roughly estimate, but you never know because the delay might increase. It might also decrease, which everybody hopes for it, but a lot of times it increases, unfortunately. So, second question, can I apply for a tourist or visitor visa? Yes, you absolutely can. Just keep in mind that if you are in a country where it is hard to get a non-immigrant visa, and I know it again by the personal experience because the country where I'm from is like that, you might have a little bit of a trouble because it does create a little bit of a contradiction. So if you go for an interview for a non-immigrant visa, right, and they see your immigrant petition that was submitted by your parent for you, if it's one of those countries where it's hard to get a non-immigrant visa, they might say, hey, you have an immigrant petition and now you're applying for a non-immigrant visa. That makes no sense. You are denied. It's possible, and it only happens when it's one of those countries where it's maybe there's a lot of immigration fraud from a country. Maybe there's grounds for like terrorism and stuff like this. Those are the countries where U.S. embassies are very harsh, and it's very hard to get a non-immigrant visa from those countries. So if it's the case, just kind of be prepared. But again, legally, rules, you have absolutely no restrictions whenever it comes to applying for a tourist visitor visa. You can tell them, hey, yes, I do have a petition, an immigrant petition that I'm waiting for, but nevertheless, I still want to go and I still want to visit my parents in the United States. And the third question, does being or not being inside the United States have an effect on getting an interview and the visa? Yes, it does. So if you are within the United States, once this whole petition is happening, right, it does change the process, because now you're not going to the US Embassy in order to get your immigrant visa. Instead, you are actually dealing with the USCIS here, and you're submitting the application to adjust status, basically application for permanent residence. So you're not even dealing with NVC, if you think about it. So with that being said, if you are in the United States and if NVC has already documentarily qualified you, it might be a little bit tricky because most likely they will transfer your case to the US Embassy, so you would have to go back and go through the interview in the country where you're from because it's already documentarily qualified. But a lot of times, if you are here in the United States and you have submitted a petition with USCIS and they approved it, they would send it to the NVC, yes, but then NVC, before doing anything, they would ask you what you want to do. Do you want to apply for adjustment of status here in the United States, or is something changed and you went back and you want them to transfer the case back to the country where you are from? So if you can follow up, like I said, that would be great. Just make sure to post a separate comment. Don't respond to this comment here because I'm not going to see that response. For whatever reason, YouTube doesn't send me those responses. All right, moving further, another question from Ehsan Ese. Is the retreat in category F2A useful for category F2B? Does it increase the chances of setting up an interview time? Well, F2A has always been the priority. I think that with the decline of F2A, the availability of visas for F2A have decreased. So the opportunity for F2B will increase. I would not rely 100% on it. It is true that, yes, F2A definitely has a priority over the F2B. F2B is only like 23% of the availability visas that they kind of allow for the F2B category. So if you retreat to the F2B, you are decreasing your chances, and you are most likely you're going to increase the processing time. Because if the F2A category are waiting, then F2B category, they're definitely going to be waiting, because it's 77% for the F2A and only 23% for the F2B. Especially in your case, I would not recommend doing it. Why? Because you are already documentarily qualified. So literally the only thing that is left is for them to just send it to the US Embassy, and then once they send it to the US Embassy, usually depending on how busy the local embassy is, they will schedule the interview like within a month of receiving your case, unless they are really overwhelmed. So sometimes it might be an option to retreat to another category, but or not retreat down, but kind of increase. Like, for example, if you're while you're waiting, your parent becomes from legal permanent resident, they change their status to U.S. citizens. They become naturalized, right? There is an option to do that. But if you are already documentarily qualified, it means you're at the finish line, don't change anything, don't mess with anything. Personally, I would not recommend it. So I'm gonna post a response here, and looks like you submitted the comment twice on 2 of my videos, so I'm gonna post this here as well. All right, let's move on to the next comment from Be Kind. 1748, you typed I-485. Is that for the citizenship for? No. So if you want the citizenship naturalization, application for naturalization, that's for citizenship, that would be N400, N like Nancy. I-485 is the application for the adjustment of status, application for permanent resident, and the adjustment of status, right? Depending on which category you're applying from, it's either going to be application for permanent residence or for the adjustment of status, which is pretty much exactly the same thing. So that's that, and we're gonna move on to the next one. Suma Jacob, sir, please tell me, when will I get an interview scheduled by Mumbai Embassy? Documentarily qualified March 2022. Congratulations with your being documentarily qualified. Priority date is 14 December 2005, and it's a category F4. Category F4 is brothers and sisters of US citizens. So Suma, I would say congratulations, because that is the longest category that you have to wait, about 14-15 years, and you're in Mumbai, so India, I'm pretty sure Mumbai is in India. My geography is not fantastic, and India has their own separate category, so it's extra. You have to wait extra long for India. So you're getting there, you're already documentarily qualified, and there's a huge difference between the priority date and documentarily qualified date. So that means that NVC, they have been waiting for the immigrant visa to become available. So most likely the immigrant visa is already available, and they're just waiting basically to schedule the interview with the US Embassy. Now, as I could imagine, in Mumbai US Embassy, they are pretty busy, and honestly, it doesn't just go for, you know, US embassies in big cities where there's extra amount of stuff that is happening, non-immigrant visas, immigrant visas, whatever kind of services for US citizens. Most of them are overwhelmed regardless, really. If you're scheduling a non-immigrant visa interview on a normal date, you know, you probably have to schedule it like a month in advance, typically, right? But with this, the whole pandemic a year and a half, 2 years ago, we had complete closures. So a lot of US embassies, they are still catching up with all of the applications, with all of the interviews that they have to go through from way back. Because you have to think, it's not just non-immigrant visas or immigrant visas, it's also the services that they provide for US citizens, you know, the passport renewals. There's a lot of stuff that is happening within the US Embassy. So you have to keep that stuff in mind. But you are already documentarily qualified a year ago, all right? So you are, I would say you're really close. I mean, when I say really close, again, it might take about another year. So it's not like I'm saying, you know, next week you're going to be scheduled to interview, because there's a lot of categories that have been already documentarily qualified, and they're still waiting about 2-3 years now, like we've seen in comment from Ehsan SA. So people are waiting, but you are really close. It's really just a matter of availability. Now the immigrant visa, let's take a look. Your December 2005 priority date. So we're gonna take a look at India F4 at the priority date, which is going to be the graph B right here. So let's see. India is February 2006. So you're even before the current. So I'm pretty sure the immigrant visa should already be available for your case. It's really just a matter of having the US Embassy schedule the interview for you, and that's really it. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. I would just find a little bit more patience in you. I mean, at the end of the day, that's for the most part all we can do, especially once you are documentarily qualified. I would not recommend, you know, filing any complaints or any requests or doing too much in general. Once you are documentarily qualified, just find patience within you and just wait for that interview to be scheduled, because you really don't want any kind of unnecessary steps, unnecessary bureaucracy within your case. It's better to just, you know, find patience and wait. All right, let's move on to comment from Miriam Art. Miriam, thank you for your question. Hello, I have a question. Would it be possible for my mother, US citizen, to petition for her brother and his wife? They're both in Mexico. If yes, how long would that take process? Thanks in advance. Okay, Miriam, thank you for your question again. So whenever it comes to your mom is a citizen, so she can definitely petition for her brother. That's absolutely not a question at all. She can definitely do that. Now, whenever it comes to your brother's wife, when she will be submitting the petition, obviously your brother's wife is going to be on the petition as well. She cannot file a separate, however, petition for his wife directly, right? So it's going to be him as the main beneficiary, and then his wife will be as a dependent for him, if that makes sense. Now, let's take a look at how long the process is going to be taking. You said it's Mexico, so Mexico is a different chargeability area, so it's going to be a little bit longer, unfortunately, than usual. So we're going to take a look at the visa bulletin, category 4, which is brothers and sisters of adult US citizens, and we're going to take a look at the dates of filing. So if your mom submits the I-130 today, right? As of today, they are processing. Wow, they're processing from April 2001 for Mexico. April 2001, so they are 22 years. 22 years. Wow, 22 years. So very, very rough estimate for you, Miriam. If things do not get better, if they do not speed up, 22 years. And I know it's a ridiculous number, and honestly, I'm embarrassed to even say it. I'm embarrassed for how ridiculous these numbers are in general. It's really sad. So if you are watching, if anyone else is watching this, and besides Miriam, obviously whoever else is watching and who is not familiar with some of these categories, some of these chargeability areas, and some of these crazy dates, there you go. It's really bad. So if you can share this so that people know, so that people are aware that people who did everything legally, all right, citizens inviting their relatives, and they're waiting for 22 years. It's nuts. So I'm very sorry, Miriam, for not a very nice answer. I wish I could give you a little bit of a better, something that I don't feel embarrassed for it. But that's yeah, that's really bad. Okay, moving further to Shams, Sohag, F4 category, again, brothers, sisters, siblings of US citizens. Priority date 2006, documentarily qualified July 2021. When I expect an interview, I'm from Bangladesh. Okay, Shams, thank you for your question. Again, F4 category. I really, congratulations on being documentarily qualified. Now, you have been already waiting about 2 years, so I would say you have maybe about 1 year, because that's what it seems like from visa bulletin. Because, and the reason why I'm saying it, if I did not make it clear, because I want to make it kind of understandable, the way I look at these predictions. We are looking, whenever it comes to the interviews, I judge by the categories that have the immigrant visas always available for them. And one of those categories here would be the F2A, all right? Because these are supposed to be current. There is no cap on the immigrant visas in the F2A category, all right? And they are still waiting about 3 years for their interviews to be scheduled for the immigrant visas because they're already available. The immigrant visas for this category is already available. There is no cap. So once it is approved by USCIS, that's it. The immigrant visa is available. But they're still waiting for 3 years, basically for their case to be processed, meaning that they have to have their interview scheduled, so far, so forth. 3 years. So that kind of allows me to look at anyone's case who have been already documentarily qualified and who have already the immigrant visa to be available for them, whatever category they're in. Give them about 3 years, 2 to 3 years for their interviews to be scheduled. That's how much of a backlog there is on these cases. That's my estimate. Now, again, this is very, very rough. It might be faster, it might be slower. There's a lot of factors that are accounted into this. But for a rough estimate, since you've been already waiting 2 years, I would say about one more year, within another year, I would say you should have your interview scheduled. But again, very, very rough estimate, because things can speed up, and hopefully they will, but they can also slow down. All right, let's move on further to the next comment from Jeremiah Farmer. Thank you. You're very welcome, Jeremiah. Thank you for watching. Been married for almost 2 years without fail. Throughout the time, I have been pressed and harassed about getting the visa. Every day it has been, I miss you, bring me home, and we need to file. When I brought up my concerns, I was harassed, threatened, and attacked with failed blackmail attempt. Wow, I have just reported this. I appreciate this. She's not here in the country. The I-824 was rejected because the card declined, and I feel like God did that because the money was there in the account. That was the last step to get her set up at the NVC. I'm very sorry that you've been through this, Jeremiah. It's really sad, and that's one of the things that I like to bring up on this channel and make people aware, because there is, whenever it comes to the immigration, just like with anything else, just like with any other system, man-made system, right? Whether it's politics, whether it's economy, whether it's some kind of social construct, whatever it is, right? There is the system that we created, and there is this side of it, and there is this side of it. One side is where you basically give up your morals, you give up the, what God gave you, and you make this conscious choice to go this way and lie and cheat and find all of this, ways, immoral ways to accomplish your goal, right? Or you can take the right side, which is always going to be the hardest. When you're doing the right choice, whatever it is that you're doing in life, when you're doing the right choice, when you're walking on the right side of things and doing the right thing, right? Not cheating, not lying, being honest, it always takes longer, it always is harder. And unfortunately, that's why you see some people that are waiting for years and years and years, because they're doing everything the correct way, because they're doing everything the right way. And a lot of these people, they just get trampled by the system. Why? Because there's a whole much more, way more percentage of people that are doing things that they're not supposed to be doing. They're doing things on the dark side. And Jeremiah, unfortunately, seems like you've been, a victim of someone who does it this way. And it's really sad. That's why, on this channel, well, one of the reasons is to bring up, obviously, awareness to stuff like this, but also to show people that you can't give up on God. You can't give up on righteousness, no matter what. Yes, the situation, it might seem grim, it might seem tough, the process, you have to deal with all this bureaucracy, but if you lose your humanity going through this, then what's the purpose of accomplishing the goal? At the end of the day, what is the purpose? Okay, yeah, you did it, you're here in the United States, great. Now what? Because you have to, just because you're here, you have to go through all the other things to build up something, maybe career, maybe whatever it is that you want to do, whatever your concern is. Well, if you have already corrupted your soul, and you now that you are here, guess what's going to happen? You'll become worse. You will become worse of a person, doing worse things to accomplish your goals. It only escalates, it only gets worse. That's why you see all these people that we have in politics that have so much power in their hands, so much money in their hands, and yet it seems like all they are concerned with is more control, more power, more money. It is really sad. It's really sad, but that's how it becomes. It's you start with little things, you give a little bit of the way, you let a little bit of corruption sneak into your life, and you think it's okay, you justify it, and then little by little it corrupts you, and it just becomes worse and worse. All right, let's move on to the next comment. And Jeremiah, thank you for sharing, by the way. This is personal stuff, and not everyone feels comfortable about sharing their personal stuff, but I welcome everyone to share. If you're comfortable sharing it, share it. Why? Because other people who see it, who read it, who become aware of this, well, first of all, if they have been also a victim of a similar situation, they now feel like they're not alone, and it's good. That's always good to know that you're not alone, that other people experience stuff like this as well. And also, of course, because you bring this up, it raises awareness, and now, you know, some people are like, well, you know what, I was kind of thinking of doing this, and I'm not gonna do that. I'll do the right thing instead. And it's always great. It's always great. All right, let's probably gonna be the last comment for today's video, and then we will address the rest in the volume 44, I think. Yes, 44. Franklin Maxalin. Hello, I'm from Philippines. My category is F2A and already documentarily qualified. Last February 16, 2023. I would like to ask for visa bulletin April 2023. Is September 2020 based on priority date or documentarily qualified date? And what is the estimated processing time before I receive the congratulatory letter, interview letter from US Embassy? Thank you in advance. Franklin, you're very welcome. Thank you for the question. So let's take a look at our visa bulletin. So I'm gonna take a look, because you're from Philippines, they have their own chargeability category, so they take a little bit longer. So we're gonna take at the F2A. Let's see. So you said you were documentarily qualified back in 2023. So let's see. Let me actually take a look at this date. So you said 8 September 2020, and you asked if it's documentarily qualified or a priority date. Let's see. Let me find this. So there is September 2020 right here, and oh, still, you see, it still says current here. Wow. So this is not correct, okay? Because this already changed, and this says current. Don't listen to this. This has not updated on the visa bulletin yet. This literally just updated, and it's as a all chargeability. So as you can see on the plus side, Philippines falls on the same date as all chargeability. So this date right here is documentarily qualified, because this is a final action date, and final action dates are the dates when you were documentarily qualified by the NVC. So with that being said, these are the people for who they're scheduling the interviews about this time. So September 2020 is what they're dealing with right now. Now, since you have been documentarily qualified just now, recently, 2023, congratulations, by the way, it's a big step. Very, very rough estimate. Very rough estimate. Because I think specifically the F2A category these days, I really hope that they will speed up. I think they will speed up. They have to speed up. Why? Because this category, there is no cap on this immigrant visa. So the only reason you see the delay on this is because there is an artificial delay, artificial backlog that was caused by the whole closures and everything with the whole pandemic situation. That's the only reason, and they're waiting about 3 years, because they have been, you know, if you go back 3 years, they were documentarily qualified. These are the people right now that are currently being processed that have been documentarily qualified right before pandemic, and then the pandemic closures happened, and then they were just completely frozen. All right, so after everything was opened up, they started to catching up. That's why you see it just popping up on April 2023 visa bulletin. So it's a very, very rough estimate. When I say 3 years, I would say probably you're looking at about year and a half waiting, because I think they will catch up. They have to catch up within a year, because there is no excuse. There's absolutely no excuse for them not to catch up with this particular category, because there is no visa cap on it. But on the plus side, you're all documentarily qualified, so really the only thing that really you need in this situation is just a little bit of patience. So thank you everyone for watching the volume 43. I'll probably be doing another volume later today. I'll try to, because I do have some more questions that I need to address. As always, thank you very much all for your questions, for your time, for watching. God bless, and I will see you all in the next video.